Herzlich willkommen zurück zu Let's Play The Legend of Heroes Trace to Azure. Das heißt, wir sind stehen geblieben, nachdem wir das Monster besiegt haben. Ich glaube auch Father Bardow und Ancient Battle. Nein, noch sofort, nein. Deliver Deception? Deliver Deception. Und jetzt geht es noch genau, muss ich die Bracer Guild und dann kann ich die Secret Quest machen.
ごめんください。
失礼します。
あなたたち。
いや、ロイドたちか。やれやれ、揃いも揃ってしけた面並べてんな。
余計なお世話だ。まあ否定はせん。
よりにもよってなんでアリオスさんが寝耳に水すぎるよ。本当にそんな気配は全然なかったものね。強いて言うならオルキスタワーを訪れることが最近多かったくらいかしら。
そうね。あくまで今後のギルドの対応を協議しに行ってたはずだけど、まさかこんな段取りを話し合っていたなんて。実はそのあたりをお聞きしたくて来たんです。アリオスさんはまだギルドに所属してるんですか？昨夜いきなり辞表を出して遊撃士のエンブレムを返してきたわ。持っていた仕事は全部片付けて、今後の対応策も出してくれたのはいかにも彼らしいけど。
そうだったんですか。確かにアリオスさんらしい几帳面さですね。
だがこのように唐突に辞めるのはさすがに問題だろう。しかもクロスベル独立国の国防軍の長官などと。
こう言ってはなんだけどエレボニアの反応が怖いわね。資産凍結なんていう脅迫すらしてしまっている状態だし。そうだね。共和国の反応も怖いな。
だがアリオスさんの気持ちも理解できないわけじゃない。
スコット、
どういうこと？
俺もアリオスさんと同じクロスベル市の出身だが、確かに演説にもあったような原因不明の不可解な事故は年に 1,2 回は起きていたんだ。本当のことはわからないけど、皆帝国か共和国絡みで起きたことだとはうすうす感じていた。
それは
まあここ最近はそうした事故は起きてないが、5年前アリオスさんの奥さんと雫ちゃんが巻き込まれた事故が最後と言えるかもしれないな。
ひょっとして
5年前に表通りで起きた運搬車の爆発炎上事故。当初はオーバルエンジンの暴走と可燃性の積み荷が原因とされたけど、そしてその事故に巻き込まれて奥さんのさやさんは亡くなり。
そういう顛末だったのかよ。
断片的な情報はある程度は聞いていましたが、それでアリオスさんは警察を辞めてギルドに移って。
私もアリオスとはその後からの付き合いだけど、彼一言も言わなかったけどずっと引っかかってたんでしょうね。そう考えると今回の大役を引き受けたのもようやく腑に落ちた気がするわ。ミシェルさん、失礼は承知で尋ねますが、アリオスさんのスケジュールで不審な点はありませんでしたか？え？
ロイド君、
国防軍の司令長官いきなり引き受けるにはあまりに重すぎる役目だと思います。多分ビータ市長、いや大統領との間で根回しがされていたんじゃないですか？それも最近ではなくしばらく前から。
ミシェル、
まさか本当なのか？
確かに行き先など報告と食い違っていることはたまにあったわ。あれだけ仕事を抱えてたら当然だとは思ってたけど、考えてみればアリオスが報告を間違うなんて不自然極まりないのよね。
それじゃあそうした時間にディーター市長とコンタクトを？
その可能性は考えられるかもしれない。ロイド君、さすがね。怖いくらいの洞察力だわ。
いえ、失礼なことを言ってすみません。失礼ついでにお聞きしますけど、そうしたアリオスさんの行き先やスケジュールの食い違い、半年以上前で覚えはありませんか？
半年以上前って、まだディーターさんが市長にもなっていませんが。
そこまで前だとさすがに覚えてないんだけど、でもあれがあったか。
あれ？
創立記念祭の最終日よ。彼仕事でレミフェリアに出張することになってたんだけど、それを急遽キャンセルしたのを報告し損なってたのよ。後で気づいて聞いてみたら、忙しくて報告し損なったって言ってたけど、何か気になるの？
まあ、あの記念祭は殺人的な忙しさだったし。
報告に齟齬があったとしても無理もないと思うが。
記念祭の最終日といえば。
それがどうつながってるんだ？
わからない。でも何かつながりそうな気がする。今まで俺たちが忙しさのあまり見過ごしていた点と点が。すみません、失礼します。はい、こちらクロスベル警察特務支援課で。
クロスベル国防軍特務支援課の
あなたを。
さて私は誰でしょう？正解された方には漏れなく豪華景品を。
くだらないクイズは結構です。一体どの面を下げてクロスベルにやってきたんですか？
やれやれ、嫌われたもんだな。派手なことになってるみたいだが、ちょっと会って話せないか。損はさせないと思うぜ。
わかりました。どこに行けばいいんですか？
クリムゾン商会、いや元ルバーチェ商会と言った方がいい。あそこの会長室にするか。
地下のあそこですか？わかりました。
そんじゃ待ってるぜ。
もしかして行方不明のザオシとか？そういえばこの前ランディさんがいなくなった時連絡をもらいましたね。
そうだったのか。
いや違う、帝国軍のレクター大尉だ。
あの人またクロスベルに来ていたんですか？
確かにどの面下げてって感じだな。
どうやら旧ルバーチェ商会で話があるみたいだ。赤い星座とのつながりを考えるととても油断はできないけど。
だな。
虎穴にいらずんば。準備だけは万全にした方が良さそうね。
あなたたちも大変そうね。
どうやら面倒な相手とやり合うみたいだな。
情報局のアランドールか。恐ろしく厄介な若造らしいが。
厳しそうなら助立ちするから遠慮なく言ってよ。
そうね、湿地帯での借りもあるし。ありがとうございます。手に負えなさそうだったらぜひ力を貸してください。
Genau, und jetzt sollte ich im Dingenspunkten die Quest machen, Kinder. Ja. Ja. Mr. Nielsen. Ah, is that you, Lloyd? This grave belongs to Lloyd's older brother. You here to visit him, weren't you? That's right. There was something I wanted to speak with Guy about. You wanted to talk to my brother? Yes, I wish to tell him about the raid, the Declaration of Independence, and President Croix's speech. The people of Cross were all facing in a single direction, irrespective of their own personal emotions. It is for that reason that I am opting to go against the grain and ponder the darkness of the past instead. Darkness of the past, do you mean? Yes, I do. I'm referring to the murder of your older brother, Detective Guy Bannings. I beg your pardon? Guy's death? Where's this coming from? And why now? Are you saying there's never been a more perfect time? What exactly is that you know, Mr. Nielsen? Lloyd, Special Support Section. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like for us to head elsewhere so we can review the case together. How does that sound? Alright, if you're willing to then so are we. Thank you for cooperation. It just so happens that I have the perfect place in mind. Let's make our way back to the city. Out of curiosity, Mr. Neeson, why come to Goranta specifically? 3 years ago, Guy and I agreed to meet here for another one of our friendly exchanges of information. It was shortly before that meeting when I learned of his death. Oh, that explains it. The secret behind the cult incident, the arrest of Imperial and Republican faction, diet members, the election of a new mayor, the inaugural meeting of the Western Union Trade Conference, the raid on Crossbow City, now the declaration of cross-bound independence. While each of these events may appear isolated on the surface, in truth they are closely intertwined. In other words, they are all pieces of a much larger puzzle. A larger puzzle? Really? Yes. We want to unpack the bigger picture behind them. The rest of the pieces will surely fall into place. Doing so should shed new light on the murder of Guy Bannings. This is why I proposed the case review. I understand, however, if you rather space have the heartache, Lloyd. No, I'm alright. Lloyd, are you certain of that? Don't forget, time ain't exactly on our side today. You should get the show on the road. That's perfectly fine with me. Let us begin then. First and foremost, we should examine the conditions under which Guy's body was discovered. It was on a rainy day 3 years ago on Orchestra's construction site. The time of death was estimated to be just past dawn, but the body was not discovered until later that night. As for the cause of death, it was hemorrhage shock. A bullet from an orbital gun pierced him from behind straight through the heart. Does all of that sound correct? Yes, that's right. He was shot in the back. Damn, what the hell? Now let's reconstruct the scene of the crime at the time his body was found. To begin, there were signs of a fierce struggle throughout the area. However, the only physical evidence left behind was Guy's body itself. Not only was his favorite pair of tonfas absent from the locus delicti, but the CPD badge that he so proudly wore on his chest was missing as well. I have come to understand that this badge was recently recovered. Is it true that it was taken by a member of the organized crime syndicate known as Ravage? Yes, we found it in Marconi's office and he later confirmed it. The mafioso in question even confessed of lifting the badge off his body after the cold incident was resolved. I see. However, it was, as you said, after the fact as well. Eyewitnesses go. There were none. At the time, construction worker had been suspended and no staff was present at the site. The time of day and environmental factors were also unfavorable. It was the break of dawn in the midst of a blustery thunderstorm. Because of that, there was no reason for anyone to approach the scene, much less witness the actual murder. To make matters worse, Guy never informed anyone of where he was heading prior to the incident. And that is why my trail goes cold. What you just heard is the entirety of what I've managed to gather these past 3 years. That is, unless you have something to add, Lloyd? No, I don't think so. You covered everything I knew too. Mr. Neeson's penchant for gathering information never ceased to amaze us. Yes, though in this case it would seem Guy was not just a source to him, but a dear friend as well. That may explain why he has such a vested interest in a cold case like this. Well, why don't we move on to the case review then? If we try and unravel the mystery, we must first carefully consider our potential culprits. The obvious place to start would be to go over the most likely suspects, namely Ravage and the DG Colt. Do you believe that either of them might be the perpetrator, Lloyd? Nope, it couldn't be either of them. No, it couldn't have been either of them. As far as the Mafia goes, Marconi denied that he and his men were responsible. Of course, his word only means so much on its own. But Joachim told us that although he arranged for Ravage to kill my brother, they failed. Garcia Rossi had admitted it to him when Marconi tried to take credit. There also no evidence that any of the subordinates went behind their backs to carry out the hit. Not only that, but Guy was also already investigating both the Mafia and Joachim. His defenses were up. He would never put himself in a position where either of them could make an attempt on his life. I can't just fathom that being the case. Gotta agree, chances are slim. Everything we've come to learn about the dude says he wasn't just ballsy, he's a damn good detective too. That he was. I could never believe for a second that he died fighting the Mafia or the cult. I feel just the same way myself. The elements of this case would appear to point elsewhere. The theory may have held water prior to the cult incident, but at this point we can safely rule both Ravage and the cult. So let's move down to this. Could we have been assassinated on behalf of one of the two major powers? By a diet member from the Imperial Republican faction, or one of the government officials they align with, perhaps for an intelligence offense? Do you think it's possible that Guy's killer may fit into any of these categories? It's not very likely. I think it's pretty unlikely. It's true that there have always been corrupt officials in the Crossbow with ties to the two major powers. And it's also true that my brother was quick to push against the injustice they committed. Plus, we can now say for certain that spies from both countries were making frequent visits to Crossbow around that time. But as much as I believe in my brother, he was in no real position to touch them. They couldn't have viewed him as a serious threat. Unfortunately, you're probably right. As much as I hate to admit it, either nation could apply tremendous pressure on the CPD through the state government if they really wanted to. Especially under the old administration when Guy was alive. It would have been far too easy. Yeah, it just doesn't fit. Why to go to the effort of luring out and killing one single detective when bureaucratic red tape is effective enough as it is? A high-risk, low-reward maneuver like that just wouldn't have been worth it, no matter how much of a thorn in the side she was. Let's say, and just talking hypotheticals here, that Lloydsboro was in contact with one of those guys. He still wouldn't walk into an obvious trap. It's the same deal as the Mafia. I concur. Impressively deduced, I have nothing more to say on the subject. With that, let's move on to the final possibilities. Out of a sizable pool of potential suspects, you've eliminated every one of them so far. Tell me then, who else do you suppose could fit the profile of Guy's killer? Ouroboros, CPD, or a personal acquaintance? A personal acquaintance. Guy was still wary of them, no doubt, but it had to have been someone he knew well. That's the only answer that fits. Huh? You serious? And what brings you to the conclusion? Well, first of all, Guy never revealed to anyone where he was going beforehand. It leads him to believe that he was confident in his ability to handle the situation alone. The only reason he would feel that way if he were meeting someone he knew personally. That's true. Whether the guy was asking to go there or whether the meeting was his idea is impossible to say. But consider where they met, an empty construction site. Clearly, whatever they planned to discuss was important. They didn't want anybody to hear what they were talking about. It's possible the conversation went sideways, that it broke down to the point of no return. Maybe that's why the killer took his life. And what conversation would that be? Honestly, I don't have the slightest clue. But whatever it was, it cost him his life, and that means it was grave enough to silence him over. I don't use the word slightly, but it might have been linked to a deep conspiracy of some kind. A conspiracy? When we began the reviews, you said that unpacking the bigger picture could shed new light on the case. At the moment, I felt something clicked way back in the mind. Did you know? I can't get past the idea that my brother was closing in on some kind of secret plot. A plot concocted by somebody connected to the DG cult, Mafia, the Empire, and the Republic, also separate from them. Whoever it was, they couldn't allow Guy to interfere, and chances are their conspiracy is still alive and well to this day. Does that sound like the most logical explanation? Connected, yet also separate. And you say his conspiracy is still ongoing. It's hard to draw any other conclusion. The killer is still at large, after all. That fact alone is enough to tell me that whatever they killed, Guy Owen is a long ways from settled. Mr. Nielsen? Sorry, was it too far-fetched? No, not at all. I think your reasoning is perfectly sound. Let me ask you this, Lloyd. As we were reviewing this case, did any particular suspect come to mind? One who could, in theory, have called Guy out to that construction site and murdered him 3 years ago. No, unfortunately not. To his credit, Guy was popular. Even if we narrowed it down to those he knew personally, that's still a lot of people. There are also two other key details. His back was turned when it happened and his tonsils were removed from the scene afterwards. I suspect that both of those facts are vital to figuring out what really happened that day. Then again, if that evidence alone was enough to identify the killer, the First Division would have solved this case 3 years ago. That's a fair assessment. Unfortunately, not every clue has been revealed, and so the culprit cannot yet be identified. However, I do think one thing has made itself very clear. The only person who can uncover those final missing pieces and solve this puzzle is you, Lloyd. Mr. Nielsen. Right, and I intend to do just that. Glad to hear it. It's strange, I suddenly feel as though I've made good on my promise to share an interview with Guy here 3 years ago. I owe you all my deepest gratitude for indulging me with this review session. Not at all, if anything, we should be the one thanking you for this. You're too kind. Now, if you excuse me, I greatly anticipate hearing about your future exploits, SSS. I get the sense that Mr. Neeson was hoping to help us more than the other way around. You might be onto something, Theo. Keeping his promise to my brother may have been his real goal. I'm glad we took the time to speak with him. I can't help but agree. You said it. Now come on, let's get cracking. All that hashing out has got me fired up. Yeah, next up, the Don's room in the old Rivage building. It's time to see what information we can drag out of Lecter. Yeah. Gehen wir jetzt aber erstmal ab. Jawohl.